We're going to talk about lesson 210, which is on solving multiplication equations. Okay? Now, pay close attention to this. There's a lot of steps here, but it's not complicated. Okay? It's most of what you know how to do. Now, the key is that we're going to need to identify the coefficient in the equation. Alright? What is the coefficient again? Asa, look up here. Open your notes. Write down these examples. What does the coefficient tell us? Or what is it? Where is it, Johnny? In the equation, where is it? It's right. It's the number that's right in front of the variable. It tells you if the variable is negative, and it tells you how many there are. Okay. Now that's going to be important information when we're solving these, because we're going to need to identify the coefficient. And if the coefficient is negative, when we get to the bottom, when we get to the end, we have to reverse the sign in order to get the true solution. So we'll change it. If this coefficient is negative, like negative 7 is negative, isn't it?
Yep.
Come on, right? You know that. Negative 7 is the coefficient. So once we solve this, we have to reverse this sign from greater than to less than. We have to make it, instead of greater than, we have to make it less than. Okay? So here's how this works. You solve this by dividing negative 7 divided by negative 7, dividing on both sides, get the solution, reverse the sign. So m is less than negative 5. And then here's the graph for it. Mark negative 5 with an open dot, arrow to the left. Now, why do we have to reverse the sign? Well, what if we did not reverse the sign and we arrowed? That would mean that we would draw the arrow this way, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what if we put in a solution to check this? Let's put in 0. Is 0 greater than negative 35?
Yeah.
Negative 7 times 0, is that greater than positive 35?
No.
No, that's less, so that doesn't make it true. We have to reverse the sign in order to get the true solution. Okay? Whenever you use a negative, or whenever you have a negative coefficient, that's when you reverse the sign. Here's another negative coefficient. Negative m over 6. Negative m over 6. Okay? What is the coefficient? What is the number in front of the variable in this case? Here. Negative 1 over 6. Yeah, negative 1/6. It's negative 1/6. The reciprocal is? What's the reciprocal? What's the fraction flipped over? Take the fraction and flip it over from 1/6 to 6 over 1. Negative 6 over 1 is the reciprocal. Look up here, you guys. You're missing this. Okay? You got to concentrate for 3 or 4 more minutes. Negative 6 over 1 times negative 1 over 6 equals 1m. So this is the number we have to multiply by on this side, because we need 1m. Now, this is negative again, isn't it? Negative 1 over 6. whenever you have a negative number in front of the variable, you have to reverse the sign at the end. So this changes from less than to what? Come on, less than to
Greater than.
greater than.
Wow.
And we have to multiply by -6 on the other side. -6, -6. Multiply by -6 over 1, multiply by -6 on the other side. Get the solution and graph it. Okay? Now, let's practice a couple of these. Make sure that you write down these examples. Highlight in your notes right now what I highlighted in my notes. When the coefficient is negative, you must reverse the sign. Then, right now in your notes, circle the -7. And reverse the sign. The -7 right here, where it says negative. Circle that -7. Highlight that -7. And then write reverse the sign. Yep. Highlight this. -1/6m. Highlight that in your notes. No, don't highlight everything. Highlight the things you have to remember. Okay? Alright, take a look at number 1 on your sheet. What is the coefficient in number 1? What is the coefficient in number 1? Max, what is the coefficient in number 1? Reese, what is the coefficient in number 1? Number 1. Look at number 1. Now, read it to me. Stop talking. Yep, -5n is less than 30. What number is in front of the n? Reese.
Yeah, Reese.
Yeah, Reese.
So, yeah, Reese.
What number is in front of the n? -5. Is that a negative coefficient? Yeah, so then we'll have to reverse the sign. Write first of all the negative coefficient. Write -5 on the first line. Adam, pay attention. Write -5 on the first line. And then write reverse the sign on the second line. Stop talking. Number 2. Right? -5 on the first line. So it says identify the negative coefficient. And then write reverse the sign. Reverse the sign. Right? Reverse the sign. Stop talking. What's the coefficient in number 2, Jordan? 4. Is that positive or negative? Positive. Do we have to reverse the sign when we solve this one? No, you do not have to reverse the sign. Do not reverse the sign. Circle the 4. Or you could write positive next to the 4. Do not reverse the sign. Number 3. Maddie, what's the coefficient in number 3?
-45.
Well, is that the number next to the variable?
No,
9 is. Yeah, circle the 9. Write positive next to it. POS. The 9 is the coefficient. That's positive. If it's positive, do you have to reverse the sign, Merlin? No. Right, do not reverse the sign. What's the coefficient in number 4, Amelia? So a number right in front of the variable. -2, circle the -2, or write -2 on the line.
There's no line.
There's a line under -2.
Yes, there is. Don't you guys see that line right there?
You don't see that line?
Why didn't you draw the line?
I didn't need to draw the line.
Look for number 1 and 2.
Still a line. -2.
Draw your own line.
Yes, draw your own line.
Class, do we have to reverse the sign in that one?
Yes, you do.
Yes. The coefficient is -2, so you have to reverse the sign. Number 5. Let's solve this one together. N over -4 is less than 7. What is the coefficient? What's the coefficient? Luke? Number 5. -4. It's 1 over -4, isn't it? 1n over -4. So the 1/4 is the coefficient. -1/4. Now, we have to multiply by the reciprocal of that. Good. -4 over 1. Cross off the -4s. Is the coefficient negative? Is this negative? Yes, we have to reverse the sign. Reverse the sign. Change it from less than to greater than. N is greater than what? -28. We have to multiply by -4 on both sides. Okay. Graph this. Sam? How do we graph this?
You put a 0, and then -28, and then you put an open dot,
Yep,
and do it to the right.
to the right. Because n is greater than -28. When the variable is first, you can shade the same direction as the arrow is pointing. Number 6. What is the coefficient? Johnny, what's the coefficient? Number 6. It's not 8 next to it. No, what's up here? 1. So it's 1/8. Is it positive or negative? Positive. Do we have to reverse the sign? Good. We do not have to reverse the sign. Do not reverse the sign. Okay? This is positive 1/8. Now, this is -4, but that's not the coefficient, is it? No. 1/8 is the coefficient. Multiply by its reciprocal, 8 over 1. Cross off the 8's, multiply by 8 on the other side. We don't have to use a fraction because the number we're multiplying is not a fraction. This is -32, and x is less than or equal to -32. Then graph it. Number 7. -14x is greater than or equal to -42. What's the coefficient, Reese? Good. -14. Negative. What do we have to do with the sign? Jordan?
What?
What do we have to do with the sign?
We have to reverse it
Why?
because it's negative.
Because what's negative?
The coefficient.
Good, the coefficient is negative. We have to cross out the coefficient, so we have to divide by the same number, negative 14. Cross off the negative 14s. X is less than or equal to positive 3. Negative divided by negative is positive. Any questions?
No.
All right, use this and get ready for your quiz tomorrow.